What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers, and welcome to the main event deep dive. And yeah, this is going to be a very fun one to break down. We have Ciryl Gane, lots of hype on this guy against one of the hardest, well, the hardest hitter on the entire planet, Francis Ngannou. I cannot wait for this fight. Wheezy, are you looking forward to this fight as much as me?
Dude, we were just talking about this just before we started. I'm so excited. It's not even funny, man. I mean, this is going to be so much fun. It's hard not to get fired up for Ganou's fights. The guy is an athletic freak. He looks like he was carved out of marble. He's got fists like canned hams. He's got the most power I've ever seen anybody have in the history of this sport. He's so much fun to watch. And then Gane is like the Muhammad Ali of the division. I mean, his footwork, his speed, his boxing IQ, his kickboxing IQ. His ability to be able to use every square inch of that cage in order to set up his attacks and use his defense. It's really a clash of styles, but it's really two great athletes. You got that really hyped prospect in Gane, and you got a guy in Ngannou who's, I mean, the guy is 11-2 in the UFC, and he is absolutely starching dudes when he wins. So I can't wait for this fight. I can't wait for this entire card. We started slow last week, Brady, with the offerings that we had from the UFC, but boy, did they crank it up to 10 here in week number 2 of the year. So let's go, baby. I can't wait for this.
Yeah, this card is a banger, and then like the main event is definitely a banger as well. I'm really struggling with this fight in terms of picking a winner. Like I think there's so many different ways this fight can go. And we'll kind of talk through it. We'll talk through the betting aspect of things. We'll talk through the chat as well, see if we can find a spot that we do like in terms of the betting. But I think it's going to be fun to break this one down. A very fun fight to break down and talk through. Let's hit up the chat real quick before we get started. If you guys can please leave a like on the channel, subscribe as well. My full card breakdown prediction video will be coming out tomorrow morning early. Wheezy will be going live on tomorrow morning or tomorrow night as well for his full card breakdown. We have Pablo, first one in the chat, psych level 10. I agree. We have Jack Attack saying the croissant era begins. There we go. We got the General saying we're back. What is up, General? War Dog saying completely split on this fight, as am I. Speed saying I want Francis to manhandle this fake champ. Wow. We got Paul saying, oi. We have Silky B with KO versus the B Butterfly. That's exactly how it is. Sean in the chat as well. Wheezy 2024 cannot wait for Wheezy to run for president. I know he's going to have the MMA community behind him there. And Ngannou's going to break Gane. If he dies, he dies. Victor saying, I'm not putting a penny on this fight to avoid a heart attack. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy. I'll tell you what, Victor, if you have a penny on Ciryl Gane at chalk against Francis Ngannou, you might have a couple heart attacks. But we'll talk about it here. I see you about better in the chat as well. And Cov Rig, what is up? All right, so Wheezy, let's get started here. We have Ciryl Gane, Francis Ngannou. We have Ciryl Gane, who's 31 years old, 6'4" with an 81-inch reach. Francis Ngannou, 35 years old, 6'4" with an 83-inch reach. So Gane's going to be 4 years younger, and he's going to be at a 2-inch reach disadvantage. They're both 6'4". Ciryl Gane, he is 5-0 in his last 5 fights, had a submission win against Tanner Boser, a knockout win against JDS, a decision win against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, a decision win against Alexander Volkov, and then a knockout win against Derek Lewis. As far as Francis Ngannou, he has 5-0 in his last 5 fights as well. A knockout win against Curtis Blades, a knockout win against Cain Velasquez, a knockout win against Junior Dos Santos, a knockout win against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and a knockout win against Stipe Miocic. So yeah, both guys are on a very good run. Wheezy, we'll start with it. Let's talk about the experience stats. Let's see who has more experience here.
Yeah, definitely. It's got to be Gane here. Both of these guys came to MMA kind of late in life. As we see that Gane's got an 8-year professional MMA career, and he's 35 years old. So we can do the math there and see that he started at the age of 27 at MMA. And then for Gane, 31 years old, only a 3-year MMA career. So that's 28 when he decided to go to MMA. So it's Ciryl Gane, who has a kickboxing base, and Francis Ngannou, who has a judo base here. It's Ngannou who has 9 more fights, but they have almost the same amount of cage time. It's actually Gane with 121 minutes as a pro to 104 for Ngannou. So 3-year career for Gane, 8-year career for Gane. And we see that Ganeau's got twice as many UFC fights as Gane, with 13 of them. He's 11-2 in those 13 fights, while Ciryl Gane is undefeated as a pro and in the UFC, 7-0 in the UFC, 10-0 overall. And Gane still has less UFC and professional cage time than Gane does, because Ganeau's average fight time in the UFC is 5.63 minutes, while the average fight time for Ciryl Gane in the UFC is actually over 15 minutes, because he's been in a couple of 25-minute fights. So, and then when we look at the finish stats here, we see that both of these guys are good finishers, but obviously it's Gane who's the more prolific finisher here, finishing 100% of his 16 professional wins inside the distance. I mean, 100% finish rate in 8 wins is impressive. In 10 wins is even more impressive. Like 14 wins, and it's like, damn, 16 wins, man. And he's gotten 4 submissions, and he does have that judo base, so he does have some experience with submissions. He can do it both ways. And even Gane, for somebody who has come to the sport so late, he's pulled off a couple of champagne submissions in his MMA career. He's finished 3 of his 10 wins by submission and 4 by knockout, 3 by decision. So for a guy who has been late to the game of MMA, coming from a kickboxing base, he's shown quite a bit of diversity in his ability to be able to finish people and win fights. So really fantastic numbers for both of these guys. And then when we look in the 3 combined losses, all 3 of those losses are from Gane. Gane has never been finished as a professional, and Ciryl Gane has never lost as a professional. So, just talking about the tail of the tape and the experience and the finish stats, we can see that why this sets up to be such an exciting main event here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's crazy to take a look at the experience of Ciryl Gane. He's only been a pro for, like you said, 3 years, and just to look and watch him fight, because when you watch him fight, it does not look like he's only been a pro in terms of MMA for only 3 years. I mean, this is a guy that has looked phenomenal, and he brings something to the heavyweight division that a lot of guys don't have, and that's cardio, that's volume. That's the ability to move very, very well also. And he's dangerous as well. I mean, Gane brings a lot to the table that most heavyweights don't, and I think that's what makes him so unique. And again, it's just crazy to see that only 3 years. I mean, this guy is only 31 years old as well, which is young for a heavyweight. So I think Ciryl Gane has a very, very high ceiling. In terms of the finish rates, yeah, Ngannou is an all-out finisher. He has a 100% finish rate, like you said. And yeah, 3 losses by decision. So Gane is very tough, very durable, never been knocked out, never been submitted as well. And then Gane never been knocked out or submitted as well. Weezy, do you think that changes? Do you think someone gets finished in this fight?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to picture somebody not getting finished, but it's happened before. And we do know that, one of the reasons that you could see this fight going the full 5 rounds is because Gane is just a master defensively. His footwork, his speed, his conditioning, all 3 of those things combined allow him. Oh, and the 4th thing, and the most important of that, is the fight IQ. This guy doesn't get himself put into bad situations. He fights to his opponent's weaknesses, and he does the things that he needs to do to remain responsible defensively. And he has the cardio and conditioning and athleticism to be able to move his feet laterally in order to stay out of trouble and be very good defensively. So yeah, we might see this fight go to decision. And Gane has been very durable. And I'm sorry, the people are lecturing me in the chat for not pronouncing the N, and you do have to pronounce it Ngannou. So I'll just call him Francis. That was good advice. So Francis, he's very athletic and very long, but he relies on that power. So obviously both of these guys very durable in their own right. Gane is way more responsible defensively, but Gane and Francis is obviously very difficult to finish in his own right. So yeah, this one I'm worried about the time props in this one.
Yep. Silky saying big cage. Yes, we are in the big cage, and in my opinion, that's going to favor Ciryl Gane. He's gonna have more room to move around there. But let's talk about the striking stats. I think this is going to be the most important thing in this entire fight, because we were talking before the show, and we're both not expecting this fight to hit the mat much, if any at all. So I think the striking stats we're going to be looking at the most.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can look down at the grappling stats real quick for Ciryl Gane's career and see that he's only controlled his opponents 8.89% of the time, and he's only been controlled 0.17% of the time. So that reflects that great footwork and defense that we just talked about. And so Ciryl Gane's fights are taking place at striking range 91% of the time. And because of that, and because Francis only has 4.42% control time in his career, we can count on a very high percentage of this fight taking place in the center of the cage at striking range. So these striking stats are of paramount importance here. Let's start with Ciryl Gane. The numbers are video game-like in terms of his efficiency, his defense, his volume, his accuracy. So Ciryl Gane lands 5.37 significant strikes a minute and only absorbs 2.4 significant strikes a minute. So he's landing more than 2 significant strikes for every one that his opponent lands. He's got about a 58% striking accuracy over a 7-fight sample size. He has 2 knockdowns in 7 fights, and he's averaging 0.28 knockdowns per 15 minutes. That striking defense number is eye-popping there at almost 63%. That's very important against somebody that hits as hard as Francis Ngannou. And we've also shown that Ciryl Gane has never been knocked down in 7 UFC fights, and he's fought guys, like Derek Lewis, Volkov, Rosenstruik, Dos Santos. That's very, very impressive. We cannot talk more impressively about Ciryl Gane's defense. It's very important to remember how defensively responsible Gane is. But then we look over at Francis, and we see that he's landing more significant strikes than he absorbs. And that's very impressive for somebody who fights like Francis does. Because usually when we see these guys with crazy, crazy power, the guys that can knock you out anytime they touch you, they almost always absorb more strikes than they land because they rely on that power. They realize they don't have to outvolume their opponents. They kind of just set up and wait to land that one big strike. And even though Francis has that power more than anybody else in all of this sport, he still is outlanding his opponents at like a 1.2 to 1 ratio, which is very impressive at this weight class. He also throws considerably more volume than his opponents, throwing 6.16 significant strike attempts per minute, while his opponents only throw 3.74. So, but we look at the striking accuracy comparison here. 58% for Gane, 41% for Francis. And then we've got Gane at a 63% striking defense, and Francis is at 45.62% striking defense. So obviously, Gane is more accurate. Gane is more responsible defensively. Gane throws more volume than his opponents do in comparison to Ngannou, and he lands more. The one stat that jumps off the page, though, Brady, is a 4.3% knockdowns per total significant strikes landed. So if you were to land a knockdown once every, let's say 4% of your strikes, 4% will be once every 20, I believe. And then 5% will be once every 25. So this guy is landing a knockdown on the aggregate. If he lands 21 to 22 significant strikes against you, chances are he's landed a knockdown, and he's won every fight he's landed a knockdown in. So that kind of power is something that can erase all of the statistical advantages that you have on paper and just tell you that if you make one mistake or if you lose 1 5-second stretch of a fight that is scheduled to go 1,500 seconds, that Francis Ngannou can change the fight on a dime, land one big strike, and completely end it. So it's power against finesse. It's power against speed. It's power against technique. That power changes everything in this fight, Brady.
Yeah, I wonder, how much of that power is going to change the game. Uh-oh, we have the dog barking. There we go. He might be on
Uh-oh.
Ngannou here. But
Who is the dog in this fight?
Ngannou is the dog. So
And you got to remember that I got a Rottweiler over there. So when you think of dogs, you think of power, you think of Rottweiler. So it's, maybe he's being a bit of a homer here, taking Francis. But, we got to remember Bootsy was on Pickett last week.
Bootsy's so far on a roll in 2022, but it's crazy to see. Like that kind of surprised me as well. The fact that Ngannou, he throws so little volume that it's crazy. He only attempts 6.16 strikes per minute. He's only landing 2.54. But when you go in and look through his record, like he's only been outlanded in two different fights. Once was against Derek Lewis, and then once was in the first Stipe fight. Other than that, like he's outlanding every other single opponent, which that's very weird. And you got to think maybe the power that he possesses is kind of maybe scaring these guys away a little bit from throwing volume, right? So he outlands Stipe 36-12. He outlands Jairzinho 6-5 in a fight that lasted 20 seconds. He's outlanding JDS, outlanding Cain Velasquez. He's outlanding all of these guys, which is very interesting considering this guy barely throws anything, Weezy.
He doesn't throw much, but check it out. His opponents throw even less. And that's kind of wild, isn't it? I mean, Francis's opponents are only throwing 3.74. So both of these guys throw a lot more volume than their opponents do. But it's just, I think Francis's power freezes a lot of his opponents, and they're afraid to throw recklessly against him because if he counters and lands, it's a ride to the hospital for you, with an ice pack on your head, and that's no fun. But I want to take you to the advanced stats here, Brady, and just talk about something that I saw on Francis's end here. So let's talk about how many significant strikes Francis has absorbed in all of his UFC fights. And I'll start from the very first fight and work my way up to the most recent fight. So we start with Anthony Hamilton. He absorbed 5 significant strikes. And then against Curtis Blades in their first fight, he absorbed 24. And then in the next 4 fights, he absorbed 3 significant strikes, 0 significant strikes, 3 significant strikes, and 1 significant strike. This is Francis Ngannou that we're talking about. The next fight against Stipe Miocic, he absorbed 70. The fight after that against Derek Lewis, he absorbed 20. And then the next 4 fights, he absorbed 1, 4, 5, and then 12. So as low volume as Francis has been, he's outlanding everybody in basically every single fight except for the Stipe Miocic fight and the Derek Lewis fight. Those are the only 2 fights that he lost. So, I mean, Ciryl Gane is certainly the type of opponent who can outland you and will outland you because he's so athletic, he's so accurate, and so good defensively. But can he do it for 5 full rounds? Because the one thing that we see about Derek Lewis is Derek Lewis had that power coming back at Francis that scared him a little bit, and he only threw 46 significant strike attempts in 5 rounds in that fight. But he threw 113 against Miocic. He wasn't afraid of the power coming back at him in Miocic, but Miocic landed all those takedowns and racked up 905 seconds of control time. So Gane doesn't have the kind of power that Lewis does, and he doesn't have the wrestling that Miocic does. So this fight should stay standing for a large percentage of it. Can he avoid that one big shot from Francis for all those seconds, maybe 1,200 to 1,400 seconds of this fight if it does go the distance? And that really worries me.
Yeah, it would really worry me as well, especially laying like -150 on Gane where he's at now. But let's talk about the wrestling a little bit because I think we were talking about a little bit. I think Gane's wrestling has been very overrated thus far in his career. Do you want to get into numbers on that?
Yeah, for sure, because we can just talk about how he's done. Gane, we'll take you through all of his fights in the UFC. 0 for 1 on takedowns against Pessoa with 33 seconds of control time. 3 for 3 on takedowns against Dante O'Mays, but still only 137 seconds of control time out of 886. 0 for 1 against Bozer, no control time. 0 for 0 against Junior Dos Santos, 25 seconds of control time. 2 for 14 against Jairzinho Rosenstrike, but on those 2 takedowns, he manages 269 seconds of control time. But that's still less than 20% of the entire fight, which was 1,500 seconds. 0 for 4 on takedowns against Derek Lewis, not known for his takedown defense. He only managed 19 seconds of control time there. And then, that was against Volkov. He was 0 for 4 on takedowns against Volkov, 19 seconds of control time. 0 for 1 on takedowns against Lewis, 81 seconds of control time. So this guy doesn't get a lot of control time. And I don't think that that's going to really change much when you see guys like Francis Ngannou, who have been wrestling against guys like Luis Enrique, Curtis Blades twice, Stipe Miocic twice, Cain Velasquez. These guys are the top of the food chain when it comes to heavyweight wrestling and MMA. So the fact that this guy is actually stopping takedowns at a 72% rate in his UFC career, and other than the Miocic fight where he allowed 900 seconds of control time, the most amount of control time that he allowed was 289 seconds of control time against Luis Enrique. And even in the first fight against Blades, where that fight went 2 rounds, Curtis Blades only managed 65 seconds of control time on 6 takedown attempts, and he got 2 of them against Francis. So if you're thinking that Ciryl Gane is going to win large swaths of this fight with his wrestling, I would suggest that that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen at all. Cyril's not a good enough wrestler to take this guy down and hold him down. As a matter of fact, Francis has been working on that wrestling of his, and he threw around Stipe like a rag doll in the rematch when Stipe shot in for that single leg. So, and as a matter of fact, he sprawled on top of Stipe and took Stipe's back and landed huge shots. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I really think that if Ciryl Gane's going to win this fight, Brady, he's going to have to do it entirely with his footwork, staying on that bike, and staying out of the range of Francis, and landing a bushel full of low leg kicks so that Francis won't be able to explode off that lead leg and land big shots. I think these leg kicks and body kicks for Gane are going to be of paramount importance. But every time you throw one of those kicks and you don't set it up with your hands first, you risk a big counter coming back at you, and one of those canned hams catches you anywhere on your face, and you can easily go down.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I think for Gane to win this fight, he's going to have to fight a perfect game plan. It only takes one mistake for sure. So yeah, we talked about the striking a little bit. We have Gane, who is probably going to be the guy that's out voluming, and Gane, you got to think. But Ngannou is going to have the massive power advantage as well. I guess we can talk about the strength of schedule now. So I'm assuming it's going to be pretty close, right? Strength schedule?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, both of these guys in their UFC careers have been fighting guys with over a 2-to-1 win-to-loss ratio. Ciryl Gane's is 2.6-to-1, and Francis is 2.25-to-1. And both of these guys are fighting guys that have more than 10 UFC fights on their record on the aggregate. So the strength of schedule isn't that important to talk about, because we can say with confidence that both of these guys pretty much for their entire UFC careers have been fighting the tougher brand of competition. Francis fights the more experienced guys on the aggregate, and Gane fights the guys with the better win-loss record on the aggregate. When we look at the wins, it's better win-loss record for Gane, more experienced opponents for Ngannou. And then when we look at the losses, Francis in his 2 UFC losses is averaging losing to guys with 14 wins and 4.5 losses. So, these guys are really only fighting the cream of the crop for the heavyweight division. There haven't been any easy fights for either one of these guys yet. So the strength of schedule is really not that important, because they're both fighting studs and they're both handling it with absolute class. But obviously, it's Francis that's far more likely to be the one starching someone's ass.
Yeah, definitely. I think if someone's ass does get starched, it's probably Francis starching Gone there. So what do you guys think in the chat? Who do you guys have? We'll talk about some odds here. We see that Ciryl Gane opened up as a plus 165 underdog, which is interesting, and he is now minus 150. And we have Francis Ngannou, who opened up minus 190 and is currently plus 130. So what are your thoughts on that line movement? The line completely flipping there.
Um, Yeah, I'm not surprised about it. We always talk about how hype drives the line, and despite the fact that Francis has been on a crazy roll since that Derek Lewis fight, so has Ciryl Gane, and Ciryl Gane's kind of doing it in a way where it's just absolutely pretty. You know, it's amazing to watch the footwork, the speed, the diversity of attack. You know, the ability to be able to fight off of his back foot and move laterally. So I do see that, you know, and he's young too, you know, and here's the other thing. When you're undefeated, it's very difficult for people to picture how does this guy lose. So when you look at Francis, you could say, oh, you know, maybe it'll be a staring contest and he'll just get outpointed from the outside like he did by Lewis. Or maybe, you know, that gas tank will get exploited by Ciryl because he's the better athlete and he's got better conditioning and he's got a much deeper gas tank because he doesn't have all that muscle on his body that Francis does. You know, and you say to yourself, he can easily win enough minutes, you know, wrestling and stuff like that. I don't think that that's going to happen, but other people might think that, you know, he can win minutes in other ways besides striking, which I don't think is the case. That Francis, Ciryl Gane's wrestling is not in the same stratosphere as Stipe Miosic's. Please get that out of your head if you think Ciryl Gane can wrestle anywhere near to the effectiveness that Stipe Miocic did against Francis all those years ago, and Francis has plugged those holes. So that is something that I think that if you're on the Gane side, you got to get that through your head. He's not out wrestling Francis here. It's got to be done with the striking. It's got to be done with the footwork. It's got to be done with the conditioning, the speed, the volume, and the defense, most importantly.
See, people are saying in the chat, good points there, Wheezy. Gane wins a boring 25-minute decision. I could honestly see that. Sean saying Gane is a killer too. When you watch some of his pre-UFC fights, he just gets the reputation of a skill and finesse guy. Gane via sub plus 1025 or Ngannou via KO plus 175. I don't know if Gane submits Francis maybe late in the fight potentially. Gane has incredible moving. Yes, he does. Gane is the future. I got him 8 times out of 10. That'd be like minus 400, Wheezy.
Yeah, 80% is even more than that. Like 75% is minus 300. So yeah, that's minus 400.
Goodness, I don't know about that, Silky. I mean, I think
that's
Gane
minus 400, man. Yeah, so Silky right there. If that's where he's got that fight handicap, that's a smash spot for him. Then you have to be on Gane because you're getting him right now at like a minus 150-ish almost. So that's like a 61% implied probability. So Silky, if that's how you got the fight handicapped, that's a smash spot. You got to really put your money on Gane there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, getting some value if that's how you see the fight going. Yeah, I'm leaning Gane via boring decision. He won't have to out wrestle him, bro. He's going to mix it up. Yeah, I don't think Gane has to out wrestle him to win. That's for sure.
I'm just saying that there are people who do think that Gane's going to be able to win a ton of minutes wrestling here, and I'm saying that's not the case. I agree that if Gane is going to win this fight, it's going to have to be with the footwork and the striking, and I think he absolutely has the capability to do that as long as he stays very defensively responsible.
Yeah, yep. I think Jack's right here as well. I think Dame 11 nailed it. I think this fight's gonna be a banger. I think this fight isn't going to be a banger if Ciryl can help it, and that's kind of how I see the fight going too. It kind of reminds me of the Rosenstrike fight with Ciryl Gane, where he did a very good job at avoiding that big shot of Rosenstruck and kind of outpointed Rosenstruck to a 5-round decision. And I could kind of see him, implementing that game plan because he's not going to want to go out there and engage a ton with Francis and Ngannou. You can get in trouble there. But I kind of see the Rosenstruck game plan where he kind of stays on the outside, uses his movement, and whenever, Ngannou does load up for a big shot, just, run away and get out of danger like he did in the Rosenstruck fight. So I could see that. Stipe looked tiny compared to Francis that day. Yep, Stipe, Mbasang came in 15 pounds lighter like an idiot, and it was in the smaller octagon. Gane is not a good wrestler. Yeah, I agree with that as well. Ciryl will be elusive and evasive. He's going to need to for sure. And then Mbasang, watch Ngannou wrestle Gane. What do you think about that?
Watching guy, yeah, that would be interesting. I don't know if that'd be the best way for him to use his energy, because we do know that, I mean, if there's one of these two guys that has a way better gas tank, it's Gane. So if you're going to be offensively wrestling, boy, you better be damn sure that when you do choose to do that, that not only are you going to get that takedown, but you're going to do something with it, because Francis is going to have to be very responsible with how he manages his energy. This is a 5-round fight. And if he gasses out like he did after the first round of the Miocic fight, Gane is just going to style on his ass. So, yeah. But, you know, Ngannou did show, I mean, he showed great improvement in his wrestling there against Stipe the second time out. So maybe he might have some new tricks ready for Ciryl here. So who knows, man? That would be something. If he did wrestle successfully and finish the fight with ground and pound, that'd be a new angle to Francis's game. And then it would be like, my God, is this guy terrifying?
That would be terrifying. I would not recommend that though, because if he's not successful, like you said, I think he's pretty much screwed. Jeremiah saying, did you notice Stipe stunned Francis? Yep, it sure did look like it. Then he pushed him, he got dropped. I think Gane could do something potentially. Grateful Dude saying Gane decision and Ngannou round 1-2 sprinkle. So let's talk about these other props here. So we talked about the money line a little bit. I was going to actually bet Ciryl Gane at -110. I taped this fight like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was gonna bet Ciryl Gane, and then now the line just kind of got away from me. So now at -150, I don't really like that. So I don't think I'm going to be betting Ciryl Gane. I am going to be picking Ciryl Gane to win, but in terms of the props, we have the over/under. It looks like it is set at 2.5 rounds. The over 2.5 rounds is -110. And the under 2.5 rounds is -120. So I think if you like Gane, you probably look at the over -110. If you like Ngannou, you probably look at the under -120. You agree with that, Weezy?
Absolutely. You know, I think when you have these stylistic fights where the time props are baked into the win conditions of each fighter, that's the way you play it. If you, instead of playing the under 2.5, why not just play Ngannou by knockout at +175? And then if you're thinking you like the over 2.5 here, why not just play Gane by decision at like what, +200 or something like that? You get better lines that way when you bake it into the win conditions of the fighters. And we see that Francis Ngannou's got a 100% finish rate and 16 or 14 professional wins. Come on, man. That's how you play this one. So yeah, that's how I would do it personally.
Yep. Silky saying, do the odds get back to a pick 'em? I don't think so. I think the odds potentially get wider on Ciryl Gane by the looks of it. Gunny saying, bruh, how can you not bet Gane, bro? I've made money on him every single fight, because I don't really want to bet him at -150. I mean, that's terrifying there, but I might bet him in a different type of way. Let's look at the other prop here. We see that the fight goes to decision is +200. The fight doesn't go to decision is -260. Gane wins by KO +200, and Ngannou by KO +150. Gane by sub +950, and Ngannou by sub +2800. Gane by decision +250, and Ngannou by decision +1000. And then there was another prop that stuck out. Ngannou round 1 +425, and Ngannou round 2 +650. Is there anything that's sticking out to you from the props?
Okay, how about Gane by decision at +350 on FanDuel? +350 Gane by decision. Boy, is that juicy.
Yeah,
how out of line is that? Because it's +250 on Bet Online, and it's +300 or +277 in most other places. So, like I say, Gano or Francis by knockout at +150 on Bet Online, +140 on FanDuel. That sticks out. It's +175 on 5 Dimes, but I don't have access to that. Gane by decision at +350. That sticks out to me. But people were talking about the Rosenstruik fight, and I just want to point something out about that. Francis is a lot more athletic than Jairzinho is. And Jairzinho, even though he's listed at 6'4", he's 5'11". Okay, so he's 5 inches shorter than Francis, and he's got a 78-inch reach. And Francis Ngannou, when he stands, those canned hams of fists of his, they hang down to his knees. He has 83-inch reach. So even a guy like Volkov was at a reach disadvantage against Ciryl Gane. This is going to be the first guy that Gane has fought as a pro that has a reach advantage on him. So that being able to just skirt around the outside and pick somebody apart, it was possible for a guy like Rosenstrike, but even early in Francis's career, you watch him doing what DC talks about so much when people are skirting around the outside of the octagon. He says, you don't follow him. You cut him off. You just take a step to the side. You see Francis doing that very early in his career. So I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult, or a lot more difficult, I should say, for Gane to have the same game plan that he did against Rosenstrike and have the same success against Francis here.
Yep, totally different fight there. I agree. But yeah, in terms of the props for me, there was a prop that did stick out. It was going to be Gane by rounds 4 or 5 or decision at plus 200. I was kind of looking at that because I don't really see him, if he does finish Francis Ngannou, I think it's going to be late, if anything. But again, I kind of feel like if Gane does win, I think it's going to be more so a decision. And then Francis Ngannou, if I was to bet him, I'd be looking at either the first round prop or the second round prop. Maybe like a Francis Ngannou to win in either rounds 1 or rounds 2. I saw the line on that. I'm not sure what it was, but I think it's how I'd be looking at it, because Ngannou has not won outside of the second round. Is that right, Weezy?
Never. He never has. And you know what's weird? I'm looking at this one here, Brady. You know, the scorecards equals no action, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the finish prop. Right now, it's showing Gane minus 120, Francis minus 110.
That's
You know,
interesting.
so if Gane wins inside the distance, you know, you'd lose the bet. But if he won by decision, it would be a push. And you're only getting minus 110 for a guy who's finished 16 pro or 14 pro wins by finish. That's an interesting line there.
Yeah, and that line's actually minus 105 on Bet Online as well.
Wow. I like that one. I like that one because you know if Francis wins this, it's not going to be by decision. He's not outpointing for
No.
Ciryl Gane. And if I unless he does to Gane what Stipe did to him and puts on his wrestling singlet and comes out here and gets like 6 takedowns and accrues like 10 minutes of control time, which I don't see that happening either. So that line is intriguing to me. I think we're finding some spots here. This week is like the opposite of last week. I couldn't find a bet to save my life last week, and this week it's like there are 37 spots sticking out.
I know, right? And yeah, that one does stick out because, like, we're talking about if this fight finishes, I think either guy can finish. But if this fight finishes, I'm more confident saying I think if this fight does finish, it's going to be more so Ngannou. Not saying Gane can't finish the fight, but if it's going to finish, I'm more confident that it's Ngannou going to be finishing early, and it's only minus 105. So I think that's interesting. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on the decision only prop. See if the bookies mess this one up. If they give me like a decision only for Ciryl Gane, anything better than minus 200, I'm just going to smash it.
You would have to, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yes.
like that would be one of those things where it would be like Rodolfo Vieira being submitted by Fluffy Hernandez, the comeback by Guida against Santos. The losing the fight doesn't go to decision for Benoit Saint Denis versus Zaleski dos Santos. It would be on that level, being like, yeah, man, I had the decision only prop for Gane, and Francis absolutely out wrestled him for 5 rounds and won a unanimous decision. But then again, if I would have had the decision prop for Giga last week, there's no way I would have thought Calvin would have been able to win a decision in that fight. I thought he would have really had to knock out Giga in order to win. And wouldn't you know it, he damn near won every round. What a performance by Calvin Kattar.
Yeah, what a performance. I enjoyed watching that beatdown for sure. But yeah, I think that's about it. If you had to pick your favorite part or your favorite prop, because this is tough for me, because on this fight in particular, like there's a lot of different things that stick out. I think Ngannou round 1 sticks out. I think Ngannou round 2 sticks out. I think Ciryl Gane 4-5 or decision sticks out. I think the scorecards no action sticks out. I think a lot of things stick out for this fight, but if you had to pick one prop, what prop would you pick here?
Well, I'd be picking between Francis scorecards no action at minus 105 on Bet Online. I would be taking a long look at Gane by decision at plus 350 on FanDuel. Man, is that juicy. And then, of course, just Francis by KO, which is plus 170, or even Francis inside the distance, plus 145 on Bet Online. That's very interesting to me. If I had, but you're making me pick one.
Yeah, it's tough.
So I would say it would be the Francis scorecards no action at minus 105. I could see laying 2.1 units to win 2 there, and just say I don't think Gane is going to finish Francis here. And then if that doesn't happen, you're safe. You don't lose money no matter what. And then if Francis touches him with one of those canned hams, you're partying.
Yeah, for sure. And we have a lot of stuff to back up how durable Francis Ngannou is, because like we talked about, he's never been knocked out, and he's fought like legit guys. And Bootsy's all over Ngannou, which is making the Gane bettors very nervous in the chat, and rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
But yeah, for me, the prop that I guess sticks out the most to me is going to be that Gane 4-5 decision. We talked about on Stat Diggers how I did that for the Max Holloway fight. I did Max Holloway 4-5 decision, also sprinkled that third round just in case, although I didn't need it. But yeah, 4-5 decision for Ciryl Gane. I'd be shocked if Ciryl Gane finished Francis Ngannou early. I don't think that's going to be the game plan. I think he's going to want to stick to the outside, pick apart Francis Ngannou for the first couple rounds, and then maybe late in the fight, start to put it on him, try to get him out of there. But I would not be shocked if he kind of went to decision here, picked up him apart for 5 rounds, and that 4-5 decision plus 200. I like that a lot more than laying minus 150 at this point on Ciryl Gane. So I think that's the prop that did stick out to me the most. And then I'll be looking at that decision only for Ciryl Gane. The bookies. I thought the bookies messed up the Court McGee decision only last week. I got it at minus 150. It actually closed at minus 135. I'm hoping they mess it up again, because I'll definitely take advantage of that as well. In terms of a pick, Weezy, this is such a tough fight to predict, because you have Gane, who has so many tools, so many ways to win this fight, but you have Francis Ngannou, who has so much power, and it's only going to take one shot. We talked about the knockout power. We talked about how the dude's landing a knockdown on 4% of the strikes he lands. Who are you going to predict to win this fight?
I'm going with Francis. I'm going with Francis by KO. I don't think Gane has places to rest here. I don't think he's going to be able to get takedowns and rest on top. I don't think he's going to be able to hold Francis up against the cage. I think in order to stay away from Francis's power, he's going to have to be constantly moving, and just one mistake, just one, and I think Francis is going to catch him. That 83-inch reach, that 4.3% knockdowns per total significant strikes landed over, a double-digit fight sample size. I'm going with Francis's power here, and I think that I'm going to be betting that the scorecards no action prop for minus 105 for Francis for at least 1.05 units.
I like that look. I like that look a lot. For me, I'm gonna actually go with Gane here. Like I said, I was gonna bet him at minus 110. The line kind of got away, so I think I'm gonna play it a little bit differently, if any at all. But I think Gane's going to, use his footwork, use his speed. He's really good at avoiding danger, which is gonna be really hard to do in this fight. But as long as he does not eat that one big shot, I think he's going to, make this look pretty easy for the most part. But again, it only takes one shot from Francis Ngannou. If I had a bet on Ciryl Gane, especially at chalk, I'd be terrified for as long as it lasted. So I'm going to pick Ciryl Gane, but I don't really love the money line. I'm going to look at playing it in a different way. So we're kind of going opposite sides here, but we can both agree that this is going to be a very, very good fight.
Fantastic fight. What a fight. I can't wait for this one. And whichever one of these guys wins, I'm a fan of both of these guys. I'm probably a little bit bigger of a fan of Francis, but that's all right, man. They're both worthy champions here. They're both fantastic fighters. They're both classy guys. So whoever wins, I think the fans are going to win. But I can't wait for this fight, Brady. This is a great end to UFC 270 here.
Oh yeah, Mike brings up something we talk about a little bit. Do you factor this in at all? Is Ngannou all in? I fear he may be checked out of the UFC already. Do you factor that in at all?
Yeah, I mean, I that's something I don't know. We don't really have the answer to that question. Where is Francis mentally? Does he want this? Is he already looking to box? Is he already looking at that point in his career where he can say, you know what, this is the point now where I've made all the sacrifice. Now let's make the big money moves, and you can take less damage. Maybe we can get a Jake Paul fight set up against Francis. How fucking fun would that be?
That'd be
To see
very fun.
Jake get his head punted into the next county by Francis in the boxing ring. That'd be really fun. But anyway, I mean, they're not even close to the same size, so obviously that would never happen. But yeah, this is great, dude. I can't wait for this fight, Brady. I know you can't either.
Paul versus Ngannou. Book it. Cannot wait, dude. That would be good. But yeah, man, we broke it down. We talked about the tail of the tape, the experience, the finish stats, the striking stats, the grappling, the strength of schedule. We talked some betting. We gave our picks, went through it all, took a deep dive, and I'm very excited for this fight. So, Uncle Weezy, let the people know where they can find you and what you have going on throughout the week for some content. You going live tonight?
Yeah, I think I am. I think I'm going to do a balls deep breakdown at 10 o'clock Central Time tonight. I don't know what fight I want to do yet, so I've still got some more tape to watch, and I'm going to pick out a beauty for us to talk about. And then tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Central Time, I'll be doing my full card breakdown on my channel, Uncle Weezy, Just the Tip, with your host, me, Uncle Weezy. And yeah, we'll break down all 13 of these fights. We'll finish with Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. And yeah, and I'll also be on Pub Sports Radio again this Wednesday for the DFS show that we do every week with you, Luke from Sparring with Reality Betting, and Monk Maddox. Can't wait for that, man. Thanks for having me on, Brady. God bless each and every one of you guys for watching us. Let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks at UFC 270.
Let's do it. I'm hoping the bookies start getting some props out. I'm ready to get some bets in. But yeah, guys, if you guys enjoyed the content, please leave a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel as well. My full card breakdown and prediction video will be coming out tomorrow morning, afternoonish. And then I'll be going live Friday and Saturday as well for Best Bet with me, Wheezy, Narco Cop, and Eric Betts fight. Should be a very fun card. Looking forward to it. Good luck, everybody, for UFC 270. Should be a fun one. Let's make some money. And